Hey everybody, welcome back. We got a little treat for you. Today we are talking to Chino Gonzalez down in Florida. He's been in the business a long time, but we'll hear more about that from him here in a little bit. So, how you doing this morning, Chino?
Could be better, but I'm doing good.
I do like that. I did that just like the waitress trick, ask you a question right as you put the cup to your mouth.
Correct. That was awesome. He
I'd make
caught
a good
me.
server.
He caught me in surprise right there. I was like, oh, hold on.
Ah, you know, it's how you doing this morning, brother?
Good, man. Just started my day, but doing great. Was looking forward to this.
Hey, to the guys out there that may not know you, why don't you give us a little bit of a history here? What's your first encounters with tattooing and how did you first get involved with the business?
Well, I started first of all, my dad had a lot of tattoos. He's ex-military. Funny story about my dad. Later on in life, I asked him about questions about his tattoo because he had this, each of his tattoo had a little star, like a little star next to it. And I was like, normally tattoo artists don't put, their little mark on them. But he told me it was this little guy in a wheelchair, little short guy with his hand was, a little off. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, Stony, Stony, because he lived in Gainesville. We live in Tampa, Florida. He's like, yeah, it was this guy. And I show him the video because that's when the video came out. And he
No
almost
way.
cried. He almost cried because one of the back flash was actually the flash that he picked. It was his rose, his black rose. And he goes, yeah, I remember going in there with my cousin and I picked that rose. And he
That's
tattooed
an
me that.
awesome story,
And
man.
I
So
was
he knows
like,
how.
yeah, I was so shocked. I was like, wow, that guy's a legend. Oh, legend. I mean, even Ed Hardy went and got tattooed by him, and it was just incredible. And so I knew in my life that was the path I was going to go. I remember the first time that I got really involved in tattooing and saw the lifestyle. I went to Pins and Needles here in Tampa. Jim and Vicky, they owned a shop called Artistic Armor, and I was about 20 years old. I go in there and I already had a piercing. I already had one tattoo that I thought was pretty cool. You pick a flash number 45 up in the wall and it was a tribal little sun, and I was like, all right, let's go get it. And I go into this event, my eyes were like shocked. I couldn't believe it. I saw like the mixture of cultures, the mixture of people. Everybody was just focused on one thing. It was just the art of just body modification, and that could have been tattooing, piercing. It was, Gin and Torture was there doing a performance. Artistic Armors was right in the middle, and they had their artists there. Um, but it was a funny thing about that story, Mark. It's that time I was trying to get apprenticeship. So my Puerto Rican ass, ex gangster and all this, was trying to go in there and try to get apprenticeship. I didn't know the process. And I
Mhm.
go in there and I'm asking, and I remember asking a couple guys, and that time they just booed me off. It wasn't that easy. They didn't give a shit. It's like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Well, I was really upset. So I go out to the hallway, I go sit down, and I'm talking to myself, being pissed. And guess who was right next to me? And I think I got him frustrated because I was just pissed and just, like a girl, just nagging. He looked at me, he's like, boy, what the fuck's your problem? And I looked at him and I thought it was some racial stuff. And I looked at him and I was like, excuse me? He goes, what the fuck's your problem? You there talking to yourself. And I'm like, no, man. I looked at him and I saw, so you're gonna know who this guy is. He had a gold cane with an eagle head, gold rings, bald headed, with like a Hawaiian shirt, silk, with old tattoos, older dude, and he's standing like this, and he's looking at me. He's like, "The fuck?" And I turn around. I saw his tattoos, and I said, "Oh, he could be a tattoo artist. Let me calm myself down." And I told him, I said, "No, I'm just trying to see if opportunity, try to get in the industry, see what's going on." And he looked at me. He goes, "Listen, boy, if you want to get into the industry, just fucking do it. Stop sitting there bitching and just go and do it." And I looked at him in that day, and I was like, "Fuck that. I'm gonna try and see what's up." And I left. Years later passed. That fucking guy sitting there, that was Billy Easton. I
Mhm.
did his show in Richmond when I worked for the supply company. And the day before he passed away, it gives me chills just thinking about it. The day before he passed away, That guy never gives hugs. He gave me a hug. It was Sunday. It was that last day, and then Tuesday he passed away, something like that, because one of the people called me. But he gave me a hug and he told me, "Yo, Chino, I just want to tell you, thanks, appreciate everything you've done." Because I used to always support his ladies and his shows. I would be there with $500 in my pocket. And I remember, nobody was going around the circle, and I knew how this thing works. So I'll get my chair, put it there, and I'll sit down, and I'm like, all right, ready to perform. I'm throwing money out, and Billy saw that. Billy's like, all right, he knows the game. And you see Bob Terrell, Craig Foster, everybody coming in, all these names, and they're coming, and we're having a good time. I think that's what inspired me about shows, and I got more into wanted to more about tattooing. Well, my life, to cut it short, I had this opportunity where a good friend of mine opened up, after that, he opened a body piercing shop, and he needed somebody to take care of one of the shop. It was called Monique's. So I took care of the shop on Clearwater Beach, and they opened the one on Golf Day. They had to it, but just piercing. So like, all right, let me get myself in the mix. Let me learn piercing. And they all went to Gauntlet. They learned how to pierce. They taught me how to do that. I used to always look at magazines and look at, all these artists. And I was like trying to really get educated about it. It wasn't like now we have YouTube and we have all that. We have magazines. And sometimes I had to go to the bookstore and steal them. I didn't have the money. So I always just put them in my shirt and walk around and I'll leave. And I recall that I had an opportunity with Psychotic Inc., JD, over here in Tampa. There was a guy there called Billy the Kid, and I think him and I we hit it off. And Billy's like, "You want a tattoo?" And I go, "Oh, man, I would love to learn." He's like, "Oh, come by the shop. Come by the shop. I know you work in Monique's, but come when you can, and we'll sit there and we'll talk, and I'll start showing you some stuff." And I say, "Okay, great." Well, my dad was in that moment. He knew that my life was. I had a kid when I was 17. So I was a poor kid. I lived in the hood here in Ybor. I was raised in Ybor, and I didn't know where I was gonna go. So my dad's like, I'm gonna help this kid. So he talked to Billy. He said, "Hey, where can I get him equipment?" He said, "Well, there's one supply place, but you have to be an artist to get it. I'll do you a favor. I'll order it for you. Just give me the money and I'll order it for you." Well, it was national. He got me a National Eagle, one of the big power supply, the big one like this. And I was like a kid. I was like, oh man, I got this stuff. I didn't know what to do with it at first. And I didn't want to tattoo myself because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I had this equipment with me and I was, going to classes with him, learning in his shop, Pearson and Monique's. But I could tell you one downfall, Mark, is I wish I had a mentor. I wish I had somebody could kind of hold me down. When I got older, I did. We talked about Tony and stuff like that, but I didn't. Money started coming in. That time in the 90s,
Yeah.
piercing was, put money was good. Piercers were making more money than a tattoo artist. It was blossom like crazy. I was making over $1,000 a week just in piercing. So I was like, why am I going to tattoo if I'm just making so much? So I would draw on the side. I would do a couple things here and there, but I would party my ass off. I lost my youth when I was 17 by, being a father. So I hit 20. Now I became a teenager. I have money. I could, I'm single, lived in Clearwater, pussy every time. It was just a different world. So, now the kids now, this generation, they got it made. It's like they have so many mentors out there. There's so many things they could see. They could kind of realize, hey, let me stop what I'm doing and focus. And yeah, so I from there I went to shop. I moved to Orlando. I worked a couple shops there. I opened my first shop in '98. It was called Tribalistic. Actually, if you know Crystal Aragao, I was the first one to hire her. She does a lot of color work. She's got a shop up north. Just beautiful work. Well, she came to my shop and she was pregnant. and she was a good artist. And I looked at her work and I was like, hey, you're a good artist. I like your artwork. She already did a couple of tattoos, and I hired her. She was working with me, and we had a pretty. It was funny because my shop was more custom looking, no flash. If you see my wall background, that's how my shop was. It was a lot of tribal stuff, art stuff all over the wall. Where in the '90s, that wasn't really happening. It was like flash in the wall, checkerboard floors. That's just a standard. But I saw a different vision. I knew something was going to change in this industry. Well, it didn't work out for me, and I had to close the shop, but I sold it to Crystal. I thought I was going to go to Orlando, but my friend he was working in my shop. His name was Jason. His name was Edgar. We call him Jason because he reminded me of Jason from Friday the 13th.
Oh,
He had
geez.
long, yeah, he had long hair. He had a motorcycle accident, so he walked like this, and everybody used to call him, in Mexico, everybody calls nicknames. Like any Latin, they give you nicknames. So he went back to Mexico. He lived in Guadalajara, and I called him up and I said, hey, Jason, the shop didn't work out. This is my first time opening a business. I don't know shit about business. I'm going to go back to Orlando, go work at the shop I was working in Orlando. He told me, he's like, listen, man, why don't you come here to Mexico? I had $3,000, my equipment, and I took one flight to Guadalajara. That was the best trip I ever did. We opened Stigma Inc. Over there, and I met my wife. He was good friends with my wife. We've been married 24 years, and we had a great time. I had a great time there. I enjoyed tattooing and piercing and enjoyed the industry, but I didn't really make it as a career. I was enjoying myself, enjoying that freedom. And I think that was a lot of the artists back in the day. We had freedom. We didn't have any responsibilities. We lived day by day. We had money in our shoebox. We were enjoying, the time. We hang out, we do go to events. It was a different time. Well, he got married, and in Mexico, you can't be living with your future wife and your friends there living in a house. He was like, hey, listen, you got to go get yourself a place. So Juero is one of the old school artists in Guadalajara. He was one of the first tattoo artists in Guadalajara, old school guy. I helped his kids taught them how to pierce. The funny thing about Mexico, and even my wife, I tell her now, and she tells people, and she gets really upset. Well, in that time, in the 1999, by that time, they were not really piercing with needles. They were doing catetes. Those are the catheter needles, the big one, tall with a plastic on them. There was big, yeah, that's what they were piercing with. Well, I go there and I have industrial strength needles. These are, tubes with industrial strength needles with me. And they're like, what is that? You're going to pierce with that? I go, yeah, this is how we pierce over here. They go, I never heard of that. I've never seen that in Guadalajara. I don't know if in the Frontera or those places where they had it, but I had these needles. Well, a lot of the guys there, they didn't know. So I started teaching them, thinking that, I'm going to have opportunities, work, and stuff like that. No, they all screwed me over. They started doing it, and they didn't. It's another story. But I left Guadalajara, and I moved back to Tampa. Where when I came back here, I had a warrant for my arrest, no money. That's why I'm telling you, kids now have it. Now they understand. I came here with no money, with a warrant for my arrest for child support, and I had nothing. I had nothing, in my name. I go live with my mom, and I tell my wife, she was in college in Guadalajara, and I say, hey, listen, things are not looking good. I'm gonna try to work. I'm gonna try to find a shop to go start working on a shop. Well, when I'm driving looking for shops, I get stopped by a cop. He gets me and he arrests me right in the dock, right there because of the warrant I had. He arrests me, and I go to court. And when I go to court, that judge he was a piece of shit. He looked at me. He goes, "What is it you do for a career?" I said, "Well, I'm in the tattoo industry." He goes, "All right. Do you have any form of sure proof of payment?" I never been in a shop where they give you a check. I said it was all cash money. I go, "Okay, really?" I said, "Well, if the day you go find a shop that gives you a check, you could go work on it. But for the meantime, you got to go get a job that gives you checks because we have to have proof how much money you make. And I was like, shit. I had no formal education. I was like, what am I gonna do? And so I started going shop to shop. Everybody was like, checks, get the hell out of here. There was not that many shops in Tampa. So I had to go find other jobs. So I cooked, did stuff. I was doing on the side, a little side tattooing here and there. I was just hustling as much as I can. And I went to school and learned fiber optic. So I was doing like fiber optic jobs, and I started changing myself. I started saying, okay, tattoo industry wasn't for me. I started growing my hair because you see, I'm bald. I've been bald since I was 19, and I started growing my hair. And my wife saw me, and she's like, because I would go visit her, and she saw me, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I told her, I said, well, I'm changing my ways, trying to be more, how you could say, but more changing the way I'm not as free, more conservative.
Adulting. You're trying to adult.
Oh yeah, more conservative. Yeah, I was being more conservative. And she's like, no, I met you when you were in this industry, and I loved the way you were. I saw the enjoyment you had in your eyes. Be that. And I love her for that. So things happened when she moved here with me. We had already our son. We were still broke as hell. I'm working, trying to do what I can, live in an apartment, just tattooing in my apartment. Still trying to get my situations straightened out. And she lost her visa, so she had to go back to Mexico with my son. And she was there for like a year and a half. But those things that as was bad actually was good because the reason why I say that it was funny was so she left to Mexico and she was there and I was like she's got my son and her I got to go see her more often. So I remember I will call my boy Jason. I say, "Hey Jason, you guys need supplies?" And he would say, "Yeah, man, we need needles, we need tubes. Can you get that from us? Because that time Mexico didn't have sunflower. There was no supplies like what there are now. Now supplies are crazy." So I was like, yeah, I know this company that I used to buy supplies that was DPS. I said, yeah, I know them and I'll buy supplies from them. And he's like, all right, great, bring me this, bring me this. He got me a whole list. I said, do me a favor, find out from other shops and I'll hook you up, find out from other shop what everybody needs. That's when we had Starbright, we had, all this stuff. So I was like, all right, no problem. I'll put a list together. I'll collect money. I'll start tattooing the side, put money together. And I have like $1,000. And I go to Phil from DPS and say, hey, Phil, give me a price. I'm going to buy $1,000 worth of supplies. This is my list. This is what I need. He's like, all right, no problem. Well, I did it about 3 times. Well, that's when DPS went through this whole change. Smitty was leaving. He was leaving DPS because he had Smitty supplies under the umbrella of DPS. His leader, Rich, that was actually used to work there. Rich was their top sales guy, and Rich left, and there was a whole chaos. What happened there? Well, I didn't care. I was just buying supplies and leaving. And there was an old dude. I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name was Chuck. He was a piercer. He was one of the first registered nurse piercer here in Tampa, all tattooed up. He used to work for Artistic Armor as well. He knew Jim and Vicky and all that. Well, he knew me when I was piercing as well and all that. And for some reason, he knew me. Then I knew him. Well, he was like, "Oh, Chino, I know that guy." So he was convincing Phil they need to hire me. And I remember the first question I asked Phil. I said, "Phil, do you guys give checks?" I forgot. I'm thinking tattooing. That's all cash. So you guys give checks? And he goes, "Yeah, yeah. We pay checks here. We do the IRS. We do all that." And I go, "Okay, cool." I said, "Well, let me talk to my wife because I have this legitimate job. I'm getting paid, but I'm not happy. I did a gig in Rome. We were doing the fiber optic and in Rome in the embassy and over there in Italy. So it was a pretty. I did pretty good. Like I was that type of person. If I stuck to something, man, I stuck to it. It's like I knew I had. It was this or nothing else. So I had to do the best I can. So I was like, I told my wife, I said, listen, I got this opportunity to work for the supply company. I don't know nothing about it, but it's part of the industry. So my mind was like, let me work in this and then I could build money and get back into the industry. I was trying to be sneaky, get in it, and I could sneak in that part, and then I could get the courthouse out of my back. So she's like, listen, go do it. She told me, go do it, go for it. So we go to this restaurant, myself, Chuck, and Phil. We sit down, and Phil's a really cheap guy. So we go there and we sit down, and Phil's like, well, I could pay you, 13, $10 an hour. I go, what? I'm getting paid $23 an hour. This is in 2000. I'm getting paid $23 an hour and plus overtime. You're gonna pay me $10 an hour? Nah. But something in my mind was thinking. I said, how many salespeople do you have? And he's like, no, we don't have anybody. There was not really major suppliers out there. It was Cam, Technical. There was the ones, but in Florida itself, you didn't have any suppliers in Florida. So I was like, how about this, Phil? How about you pay me $1,800 a month? And that's nothing, because I had a beat up car that was already paid for. I lived in an apartment that I was paying $700. And I was saying, okay, the little extra money I could send my wife and I could have a little money to eat. That's why I figured, okay, $1,800 would be good. I was like, how about $1,800 a month for 6 months? I would bill my clients. I would do the calls. I would do everything. I'll work on the counter. I'll do all the sales. For 6 months, after 6 months, you're just going to convert me commission based, but only. But I want 25% commission, and that's it, but of profit. We put in a napkin and we signed it. I told my wife, I walked out there and I was so happy. I told my wife, I said, yo, I think I got it. She's like, really? I said, yes. I'm going to get paid $1,800 a month. She dropped her mouth. She was like, fuck, you're going to now you underpay yourself? I go, yeah, but you don't understand. I see the vision. I see where I'm going to go. So she's like, all right, see what you do. You remember that book from Cam, that big telephone book, the directory? They had like
Uh, no,
they
the
had
ACS tattoo directory back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. It was like this thick. It was like the white pages for the tattoo industry.
Hmm.
Well, I will grab that book, open it up, start from the first page, have my highlighter, had a phone like this where it was cord phone, and I had it hanging like this. And hey, this is Chino from DPS. We sell supplies out here. Who are you buying supplies from? DPS. Yeah, we're a tattoo supply company here in Tampa, based in Tampa. Where you get your needles from? You know, hey, what would it take for you to buy products from me? If you want me to give you free shipping, I'll do it this time. But I think I could get your business. I did it to every. So I did 50 calls in one day and I saw how many I sold. Next day I'll do 100 calls. I was just calling in this little warehouse, dusted, where we had DPS. It was this old warehouse that they had supplies on top of my head, boxes on the other side, because he had a janitorial business too. So it was like boxes next to me, dusty, smell like shit. And I'm sitting there making phone calls like crazy. And we would do conventions. That's where I met Billy Easton again. I met Tony Olivas, loved the guy. I started, I did the Richmond show. That's when I saw Mario Barth. I went to his show. I started doing all these shows everywhere. And it was just like I used the supply company like it was mine. People thought, DPS was me. And that's how much I embraced it because I loved doing the shows. I would go so many shows and like we talked about, I mean, parties, thank God I'm still alive. I mean, it's like we would party so much. It was just like, and then you had to wake up 9 in the morning with a coffee mug, and you could tell everybody with dark glasses walking in on a Saturday morning. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on? And I'm there getting ready with them ready, and we're just, even the music was low, everything was chill, nobody wanted hype. It was just like, hey, we starting the show. But when that 12 o'clock click, everybody was like, all right, let's get ready. Hey, what's going on? We just like woke up, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it. I did it for about 13 years. I was with him for 13 years. I thought that I was gonna do something there. Within that time, I started kind of like seeing myself growing. And we had a company there was Phil Crewman who had a product called Ink. So Ink, we were the only. It was in 2013. Ink had this. Him and Phil, they both had a breakout, and so we didn't have any aftercare. No tattoo aftercare. It was tattoo goo was still there. Some other stuff was still there. And I remember Phil, we had clients call me and they were like, "Hey man, you guys carry any aftercare?" Because now that started getting popular in 2013. People wanted to carry aftercare. And I remember writing in a piece of paper and I wrote aftercare. And I'm circling, I'm putting little circles in, I'm aftercare, aftercare. And that same time, my wife and I would go to the market here and we would buy stuff from Mexico and we would sell it in the market. So we go to the local market. I will walk around and I would call them the brujas, the witches. They would be with the lotions, the soap, and all this kind of stuff. And I would sit there, I'm looking at it, and I see all these oils, essential oils, and all this stuff. And then they will have organic and all this. And I'm looking at it and I'll go, can I get some of those? So I will buy some of the essential oils and some of the stuff and go home and I will play with it. I would tattoo my leg and I would use them and I will kind of experiment with different lotions, different ointments, and I will go online and see why people are using bacitracin because we used to use bacitracin to heal the tattoos. And I would see what,
The one with the zinc, the extra zinc.
yeah,
That's the one I
yeah,
used.
yeah, exactly. It was little packages. They came in little packages, and so I would sit there, and then I saw what Ink had, and I didn't like it, and I saw Tattoo Goo, and I didn't really know a lot about it, and I was like, if I could make a product because I'm working here for so long. I want to grow. I want to do something. Now that hustle that I should have done when I was at 20 years old now happened when I got older. So I remember I found this chemist and I'll talk to him and I was like explaining about tattooing, what it does. And he's like, oh, okay, it's like what they do for the facial and stuff like that. And I goes, yeah, it basically scars, not scars it, but it, cuts the skin but it's a clean cut. So we want to moisturize the skin and stuff like that, but we don't want to clog the pores. And I'm explaining them this, and slowly we came with an ingredient. So I came out with this product myself. I had everything. I had the jars, like I tell you, I'm the kind of guy who stick to it. I had the box, everything. I go into Phil and I say, "Hey Phil, I know we don't have an aftercare, but I solved the problem." He goes, "What is it?" I come with a box and I turn around, I go, boom, put it in his table. Black Eye Natural. He goes, "Who's that?" It's mine. He goes, "When you came out with that?" "I've been working on it." And he goes, "Okay." And he goes, all right, how about you this? You sell it, and everyone you sell, you give me this much commission and that. I was like, wait a minute. Thought I was gonna work with you. You're gonna buy it from me, and then I sell it, we could launch it, just like you did with Ink. He goes, no, no, just do it this way. It's like, fuck. This is, I was like, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to start selling it. And actually, going back to Black Eye, that word, Black Eye Natural, came from Stan Bowie.
Yeah.
Stan was the one who gave me the green light. I was sitting with him one night and we were sitting drinking and talked to him and I was, hey, Stan, tell me a little story about the Bowie because my dad's from New York, he's from the Bronx, and tell me a little story. I want to know a little bit of history. So he started talking to me. He told me about how they would cure people's eye when they get like a shiner, and he would tell me about what they would do with the leeches. He's like, yeah, man, we would get a leech and put it in the swelling of the eye, let it suck the blood, and then we would put cosmetics on down. We let them go, and because some of these guys that work in factories, they didn't want to look like they were troublemakers, so they had to kind of make themselves not look like they got into a fight. So I would say, well, you're in the city. I remember there's no leeches in New York City. He's like, no, we will get them from upstate. And I was like, well, how many of those do you get? How many black guys you would do? Oh, we would do like 2 or 3 a week. I said, shit, but you will get that many leeches? He goes, no, no, what we do, we'll have like 1 or 2 leeches. And what after they would suck the blood, we'll put a little salt on it, and it would vomit the freaking blood out. Then we'll put it back in the bottle. I was like, wow, we come from some different times. so, so I was like, Stan, can I use that? He goes, I don't know that word. I think it was his dad. I don't remember. He told me, and he was like, no, I don't know that, man. He goes, use it. I was like, shit, I'm gonna use that because I thought of that guy, the guy with the magical potion. You know, he's got here, it cures this, it cures that. Here, this is it. I was like, that's me. I'm gonna come with that little magical wagon, you know. And so here it is. So I created that product. I still hustle with it, and I started doing conventions myself personally, not with Diversify. I was doing it myself, and I did a convention, Tattoo Palooza, and forgot to mention I opened a tattoo shop too. I opened Stigma because there was a lot going on within that time, you know, because I knew Phil was getting a little cheap, so I started in 2008. My good friend Jason, he passed away from cancer, and that was our dream. Our dream was to open Stigma here in Tampa. And when he passed away, I get a little emotional. When he passed away, he told me, he's like, hey, I got a painting for you because he had cancer. He did a painting for me. It's in my shop. He said, listen, when you open the shop, put this in there. I was like, no problem, brother. I'll do it. That day, I told my wife, I said, hey, we need to open the shop. And man, I was like everywhere looking for a shop. I was like, I'm gonna open the shop. I'm gonna open it. I'm gonna go ahead and open the shop. And I remember looking around, looking at places to open a shop, and I did. I opened Stigma. We had it for about 13 years by the same time. And I was had the shop. So I work at Diversify, work at my shop at night, tattoo. So I was doing two things, you know, working there, going to tattooing, and then I'm creating products. So then Phil started downsizing, not doing a lot of conventions. Jerry Rigger, I remember Jerry Rigger helped me out. And so I started doing these conventions, and I recall that we had an artist, his name was Dollars. And he started in the hood over here, and I used to help him build his machines, and because that's how I used to actually make money on the side. I had a briefcase. Jerry Rigger was the one who helped me how to build machines. I had a metal briefcase with all my tools, and I would go to the hood shops around. I would get their $40 Chinese machines, and I would have coils already I built, springs I already cut. So I would charge them $125 to remodel that $40 machine and make it run. You know, I said, well, you want a throwback, you want a heavy hitter, you want a soft, how you want this machine. And every time I to a top, I called Jerry, this machine, what should I do? Oh, just cut it like this or bend it like this or get this tool. And I said, all right, thanks, Jerry. So I was doing that, making money. Like, that's how it helped me build my shop. So I hired this kid, and we were there at Tattoo Palooza, and this guy shows up. And this guy, typical, not in the industry, but he had the mouth. I didn't know the industry in that way, not tattoo industry, but like the commercial industry. I didn't know nothing about that. I was mostly in my cocoon in the tattoo industry. That's all I lived in. So he's like, hey man, I could do this. I could do conventions like this. Tattoo Palooza was pretty cool. It was in Miami. And so he tells Dollars, he said, hey, let's do a convention together because Dollars was doing Best Ink. You remember that reality show? It was called not Ink Master, the other one, Best Ink. Yeah, it was Best.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a bunch of them,
with
man.
Joe Cabianco.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So Dollars did that show, and so you would know who's Dollars. He was the MTV, the ones that would throwing people, some crazy two friends would touch somebody else. The Jersey Shore people were there. They were the hosts.
I never got into any of the tattoo shows, man.
Yeah, I hated them. I hated them.
Yeah,
So
I forced myself to watch some after Scott Marshall won Ink Masters. I forced myself to go back and try and watch them and I watched them up to his season, but then I stopped again because I don't know.
yeah.
It
It's
just
funny
it
because I
doesn't
only
work for me.
it
It's
was I'm the same. I only saw it when Joe Cabianco was there because I knew Joe and I was like, okay, I know Joe. I'm gonna watch it. But then it got a little corny and got away. And then when Roman did his, and I was like, oh, let me watch with Roman, and that was the only time. But then what happened was I go ahead and so he talks dollars to do conventions. And Dallas was like, listen, I don't know nothing about conventions. How about you talk to my boss, Chino? And because he does a lot of conventions, he works for a supply company and he does a lot of conventions. He probably more knowledge about conventions than I am. So he calls me up. We go to West Palm Beach. We go to this big venue at West Palm Beach Convention Center, and he had it all set up. We are upstairs, this big window, and you can see the whole venue, over 100,000 square feet, big venue. And I'm looking at this. I was like, wow, this is big. I never seen this. You go to Tapalooza, like a hundred booth. Every show that I did, the only big show I've done was Mario, the one he had in Jersey, and I was like the only one. I was like, wow, this is big. It was a huge venue. But that was the only biggest one I ever experienced in that time. Oh no, that's a lie. I did Kat Von D music, her first one. We were the only suppliers on that one. We had 8 booths. It was an amazing show. So um so I go there and I talk to him and he had like really nice setup and he's like, yeah, I want to do this big. I want to do this big show. And I'm listening to him and I could tell he doesn't know nothing about the industry. And he's like, yeah, I want to do it because he was into that time. That's when 300 came out. He want to do this Titan and this Titan with 300 and all this. And I go, yo, that's copywriting. You can't get from people's movies. You can't do that. What are you going to do the following year when there's no 300? What are you going to do? Whatever movie that comes out, you're going to try to post that? So that's not going to work. And I say, how about this? And that's the problem about me. Sometimes I will talk rather than do the NDA and do all that because I didn't know about business. I didn't know nothing like that. So my parents, father, my uncles taught me your word is your bond. You shake on it, and that's your agreement. You don't fuck nobody over. Well, I didn't know that. And I was like, hey, how about we do this? How about something like this? And then I still had Mexico because I would always go to Mexico and I was always inspired by Mexico culture. And I would go to like the lucha libras and I would see the luchadores and it was theater. It was amazing. And that hit me. And I saw this huge arena and I'm looking at this and I go, how about, and I'm writing again, here it goes. I'm writing a piece of paper I'm thinking of Mania Mania, not thinking about what we talked about with ill and all that. I'm looking at Mania and I looked at him. I go, how about Tattoo Mania? And then he's like, that sounds good. I said, well, let's do this. So next week, I'll put some artwork together and let's figure it out. But we're going to do this. I don't know you. I don't know you. We're gonna do one thing that my wife helped me, and I'm glad she did. She basically told me all your artwork, all your stuff, have it yours. Have it notarized, writing on an NDA that's yours. That's your stuff. Whatever happens between you two is you two, but that's your work that you put in there. I'm like, okay, you're right. So I went ahead and had him sign an agreement, and I did this artwork of this guy right here. It was basically the luchador with in the actually it looks like he has like Frankenstein, but those are coils. Those are two
Mhm.
coils he has, and then he has a Sharpie on top of it.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, we're wrestling, we're there, we're fighting, we're all in this big arena. And then I was like, let's do it. So I remember calling Tony. I said, Tony, I'm gonna do this show. It's gonna be big. We're gonna have about over 300 booths. I'm already setting up stuff. I called Eddie from H2 Ocean and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this. I need your help, Eddie. All right, what you need? I need some artists. All right, no problem. I'll get you my pro team. We'll work it out. We'll get this pro team set up. All right, good. Well, my first year, what I told the guy at that time was in partner, I said, listen, this is all I need from you. I need a booth for my shop. I need a booth for the supply company that I work for. I need 2 booths for them. We're going to be the only suppliers because I'm still thinking of the supplies and making commission. and I'm gonna help you set this up. I need you to pay for my hotel, pay for all this, and and not cover my expense. No problem. Did this amazing show. Well, Cesar Morales was doing Gather of the Giants in that time. And there was another gentleman, I don't know who he was. He just approached me. Well, Caesar's like, "You put this together, Chino?" Oh, yeah, yeah. He goes, "I'm impressed." He goes, "Let's talk." I said, "All right, we'll talk on Sunday." So Sunday we're sitting down and we're sitting right next to the area with eating, the lunch area. So we're sitting down and the guy, the partner, ex-partner, was walking towards and he sees that I'm talking to Caesar. That night, later on that night, Caesar just wanted me to he was gonna pay me a commission to help him do Gather the Giants. Well, the guy, his name was Junior. Junior comes and he approached me that night. He said, "Hey man, we killed it. We did good. How about we go partners? We do 50-50." I go, "All right, that sounds good. Let's do a contract." We do the contract, we do season 2. That's when we had Solon. So if you go to Tattoo Mania West Palm Beach on YouTube, you see 3 videos. And I put all that together. It was amazing. We had 501 Legions, the Star Wars people. We had Gus. We had a charity, and we did this charity where Gus actually collected all this artwork from Bob Terrell, from all these amazing artists, and we put I think it was like $7,000 or $8,000 we put together artwork for the charity.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Well, you learn the truth of money changes people. Well, suddenly from nowhere, I don't see any money coming towards me. I see my partner with a brand new car. I don't know how that worked. I didn't know nothing about how the money worked in commission in doing conventions. I didn't know how that worked. I was going by people's word. And I got screwed over in that one, big time. And thank God I still own the you remember my wife told me, keep all your stuff. I thought we were gonna go into a gunfight. I go into the hotel. It was the end of that show. I go to the hotel, and I always had a gun with me. And they're just there. But now I'm upset. I knew the money wasn't right. I made like a little bit of money, and I looked at him and said, "Hey, Junior, we're gonna do 2 things with this. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna dissolve, get me out of this partnership, but I'm gonna keep what's mine. That you and I agree." And you could continue doing shows all you want, but Tattoo Mania is mine, and the logo, all that's mine. You could do your convention, your 300, whatever convention you want. That's on you. You could do it, but I'm keeping mine. Or you and I just one is gonna come out of here. We're gonna shoot out each other because I know you carry and I carry, and we're just gonna one of us are gonna leave out of this room. And I could see his face, and we knew that tension was there. It was like Western, you just needed that little thin walking around that little where how in the Western movie, the old movie, you see a little what they call it, grass thing falling down. So that moment he went ahead and agreed. He signed it. He knew what was going on. He signed the paper, and I didn't think I was gonna do shows, honestly, Mark. I thought that was it. I'm not gonna do shows. I got my stuff and I walked away. I had my shop. Now I have a legitimate job. The court doesn't bother me. I actually my kids are already growing up. I don't have to worry. With the court coming after me, and I'm fine. Well, I had artists call me up. Tony called me up, and then other artists say, "Hey, man, I love the show. When is your next show?" I was like, I'm not doing shows. They're like, "Man, I get a check sent. Believe it, I get a check sent to me for a show. I get like 3 or 4 checks. I'm telling my wife, I said, what am I gonna do? People sending me checks. I didn't even send them application, nothing. They're just sending me checks. And so suddenly from nowhere, I get a contact with Junior's ex-wife because they divorced because he was having affairs and all that. Well, she calls me up. She's like, "Chino, let's do this show together." I was like, "What? Yeah, let's do it together. Let's do it in Fort Lauderdale." Well, at that time, I was having problems with the name Tattoo Mania with Gil Monte. And I felt bad because I didn't want to disrespect Gil Monte. I thought Gil Monte was a legend for me. I used to see him in the magazines and all that. I remember program and all that, but it's old schools. You had to go through different ways. If the minute you break that barrier, it's hard to kind of kiss up and try to make up. So in that moment, I was like, fuck this. I don't want to have any problems with heat and I told Tony, I said, Tony, I don't want to have no problems with heat and thank God I already got out of dissolve that business. I'm going to change the name. And Ink Mania came in place. And I was like, I'm gonna change it to Ink Mania. So we started the Fort Lauderdale with her. Worst mistake I ever made, Junior. With him. I was like with Junior and them, worst mistake. So I remember, Mark, I was like, the reason was a mistake because she wanted to partner up with me because she wanted to go after Junior and show off. But the great thing was when I did that partnership, I did it out of four. It was myself, my wife, her, and another friend of ours. So it's four of us. They were supposed to do all the marketing in Fort Lauderdale, set all that up, set everything up, and then I was going to get all the artists, set everything what I was doing in my side. Keep in mind, I didn't know nothing about Fort Lauderdale. Funny thing about it, the show started. I had Tattoo Baby, I had Cesar Morales, I had some good name artists in there. Everybody had a good time. I made money. I was 25,000 in the hole. No money. And it's like, it was bad. I was like, okay, here's part two now. No money. This is not for me. Again, this is again, Mark. I get another freaking calls of artists. Chino, we loved it. When's the next show? I said, what the fuck am I doing? Because they're loving it, but I'm not making money out of this. At the end of the day, we're here to make some money out of it too, to survive. So I told the ladies, I say, hey, listen, um, if you guys want to take over, because with them, I didn't do the agreement of the owning the name and the brand. I messed up on that one. But there was a $25,000 debt on Ink Mania. So I told ladies, I say, hey, listen, you have a choice. You guys could take over the debt and own Ink Mania and write it and do the shows, and I'm out. Or I'll pay the debt, but you girls are out, and Ink Mania is mine. And they couldn't afford it. So I got a lawyer, got the contract, got them out, and Ink Mania was mine. Didn't know where I was gonna go. Well, two friends of mine was like, hey man, I was like, I don't want to do Tampa. Troy does Tampa already. And I have an old school background where you don't touch other people's territory. You don't open a shop where there's a fucking shop right next 5 miles around where it's totally different. That's totally
Yeah.
changed. You don't do shit like that. You don't have stuff like that, a show where somebody's been doing a show for fucking years and then go do a show. You don't do
Well,
that.
well, back then we did it out of respect, but you also kind of did it out of fear because, you
Yeah.
know,
You don't
you
step on those stuff. They
you
were
you
all
could be walking
connected.
off a cliff. So
Mhm.
yeah,
They were all connected. So I was like, I'm not gonna do short Tampa. And I was raised in Tampa. I'm a Tampanian. I've been in Tampa all my, my life. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna do Tampa. Well, good friend Esben and Fredo from Fredo Inc. They say, hey, I got a perfect venue. We wanted to do a show there. You got to check this venue out. It's like, all right, let me check it out. It was the Coliseum in Peak. Mark, when I saw this place, I fell in love. It was so beautiful. It's built in 1929. Old vintage like venue that he used to do like back in a ballroom dance. They had boxing in there. It's that old school style. It was like dome with these lights coming down. I looked at this and I was like, wow, this is really nice. This is different. And I talked to them and I said, listen, I want to do a tattoo convention in here. Keep in mind, I was never really used to working with like outside the industry, like dealing with hotels, dealing with these guys. I was intimidated a little bit to talk to these guys. I was really easy. Like it's easy to talk to you, but if you got a suit, I'm gonna be like, oh shit. I was in that time, I was very intimidated in that time. So I went ahead and I was like, fuck this. I could do it. I talked to the people there and we worked it out. They were like all hyped about me doing and they never did a tattoo convention in St. Pete. St. Pete never had something like that. And they were like, yeah, we're down. Let's do it. We worked so hard. My wife and I, we worked so hard for that show. We had I have a mascot. I got with the Dolly, the Salvador Dali Museum. They love me. Now they partner up with me. I actually could put posters and flyers inside the Dali Museum. They give
Nice.
me like 30 passes. They actually have an official art director that comes and does the judging for the Dali category. So he comes and he sits to with the other judge with Yahtzee and all them, and we sit there. Well, I mean, Ink Mania became what it is now from all my friends from back in the day. And like we talked about Tony, when all this happened, and I thought life was working great, and I'm doing it, enjoying it, drinking, partying still, and life is doing great. This is all before the pandemic. This all before everything. Life goes, it hits you, and it gives you a wake up. But sometimes, it wakes you up for good stuff. Well, 7 years ago, I got diagnosed with a kidney disorder. I didn't know. I was going to a convention in Mexico. I was getting ready to go to a convention, and I had headaches like crazy, man. The headaches was killing me. And I called my dad, and he's like, he's like, son, have you been partying like you normally did? Back we would do a bump here and there, we would drink and all this, that's how it used to be. We wasn't addicts or nothing. We just partied. That's how it was. I said, yeah, I did my things, but nothing major. He goes, go check your something. Go check your blood pressure. Well, my blood pressure was like 200 and something, 100 and something. It was high. I go to the hospital. Well, they go, hey, we're gonna have to stay overnight. We're gonna do some tests. Well, I had to fly to Mexico in 2 days that week. It was like December, something like that. And I was gonna fly there, and I was like, shit. All right, check me. Well, they diagnosed me. I had only 10% good kidneys in that moment.
Jesus.
Both, both 10% good kidneys. The way I think, if I flew to Mexico, if I ignored it and flew, I would have never fly back. It would have been
Yeah.
that would have been it. But it was my dad in that moment. That's why I love my dad for what he is as pain and ass he is. But so I go there and I stayed. I met my doctor. He tells me, he's like, listen, you have a rare kidney disease, and it's like almost like an MS. It's basically your organ is being eaten slowly. So a disease you have that's eating your organs. We're gonna have to put you in some. The only thing, it's a rare, so we don't have a form of medication for it. But what we could do is we could stabilize it, like kind of freeze it. But the only way we figure how to do it is that we put you in chemo and put you in steroids. What was that? In that moment, my wife, we were gonna do our vows. We were already like 20 years together, and we were gonna do our vows. And because we never really got married church-wise, got married by court, and we were broke as hell. Actually, my wife had to run while we were in the middle of getting married in the court. She had to go breastfeed my son, and I'm getting married by myself. I'm like, okay, I do. All right, here, sign the paper, and then because they did like this little wedding in the courthouse. So we never really had that chance. Now, when things started looking good, we had money and things were looking better and prosper. It was like, hey, let's do this nice wedding that we always wanted to do. So shit happens. I get the disease, and that's one of the reasons we were going to Mexico too, was to get our outfits. I got this beautiful like mariachi with a silver size, and my wife got this custom beautiful dress that was getting made over there. And he tells me, he's like, listen, you're not gonna be able to fly. And my wife was so devastated. She told me, she's like, we're not gonna do the wedding. I said, no, 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 no. I said, we're gonna do the wedding. I don't give a shit. We're gonna do this wedding. I said, let me first see what's up with this. You fly to Mexico, get it up, give me a minute. So that's when they told me they had to give me, chemo and all that. That then the following week I left to Mexico. They had me medicated and all this stuff. We get our outfits, we get everything. Well, we come back, time passes where I'm full of chemo, I'm full of medication. Keep in mind, I'm still doing Ink Mania. I'm still doing my shop. I'm still doing Black Eye. I'm still doing that. But now we're dealing with my health now. My face swelled up from the steroids. I started losing hair, was very fatigued. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do stuff. So it was hard times. A lot of people didn't hear about me. You didn't even hear nothing about me that much because I was like, it was like there was a moment. It was, and then the pandemic happened. Then when the pandemic happened, it was like it changed everything. That pandemic changed the world. I mean, it's like I remember 2020. I already had the shirts built. I had everything ready. We get this pandemic. Nobody knew what the hell was going on. And the first person I saw that canceled their show, like boom, from the fly, was Derb Morrison. Derb was, he canceled Hell City. And I wrote Derb and I said, Derb, is it looking that bad? And he's like, yeah, it's looking bad. I said, all right, no problem. I called World Tattoo Events, Alex, and I was like, hey, Alex, I'm gonna cancel mine too. Can you get it off the link? Tell them put a cancel thing, and because this, I went to social media, cancel it, call everybody. I call everybody. The thing I love this industry. I love the people because the thing about it that was amazing. Every artist that I call, they told me, Chino, don't worry about the money. Stay with the money. When the show comes back, I'm there because we didn't sell out yet. We were just whatever we sold in that moment. So I was like, damn. I told my wife, I said, this is gonna be crazy. I got money here sitting on, for people, and I don't want to touch that. And so the pandemic happened. I'm dealing with my health. Things were getting a little crazy. I'm trying to, I became that's when Johnny Cantana, I knew Johnny was the only person that had a transplant, kidney transplant, and was dealing with kidneys. That day in the hospital, I called Johnny Cantana and I say, hey, Johnny, man, I'm going through this hard times, man, and I'm a little scared. I don't know what the fuck to do. And he's like, what's going on? I said, yo, I got this. This is what's happening. And they're giving me 10% of good kidneys. They're giving me this stuff. I don't, he said, are you doing dialysis? I said, no, I'm not doing dialysis. He goes, all right, do this. Become a vegan. It's like, what? I'm Puerto Rican. I eat meat. That's all we do. He goes, I'm telling you, we were like two girls, like freaking Martha Stewart, giving each other recipes. It was, hey, I learned this recipe, and he's sending me books, and I'm sending books. So I became a vegan for like 4 years. And within those years, I'm doing vegan and doing that. I went from 10% of good kidneys to 43, just changing my lifestyle. Try to be happy, not drinking, stop smoking cigars, stop everything. And I just try to focus on me in that moment, focus on my health. Spend time with my family, not overwork myself, not kill myself with the aftercare, not kill myself with the shows, just do me a little bit. Well, in that moment, the pandemic, like we said, the pandemic was happening, all this was going, and I was trying to prevent from me getting the disease because my immune system was really low. Well, I get sick and I get what they call it the African virus, and then they changed it to the Delta later on because they say technically it wasn't right African virus. I don't know why they call it that. Well, I was in a hospital for 3 months. Mark, I almost died there. I remember I was out of breath. I lost a lot of weight. They bring the machine right next to me. They bring the machine next to me, and I see this. And man, I could tell you the guys in the industry, I love them. They call me up. They would hit me up in social media. I would do Zoom with them. I would talk to them. Yo, Chino, don't worry. I couldn't talk. In that moment, I couldn't talk. I would have a little piece of paper chalkboard, and I'll be like, thank you guys, because my oxygen level will go down. It would go down. So I had this little oxygen meter. So if I talk or I heat up now, I get heat up like this. I actually up to 60. And they were like, stop, stop. So it got worse and worse. And my doctor told my wife, say, hey, listen, you guys need to be prepared. You guys need to get ready. Things are going to get worse. And I remember telling myself, no, this is not going to happen. I'm gonna get out of this shit. This is not. It's not my time. Got out of it. Came home. Came home. It was funny. I was good for like a couple months. We're doing good. I'm back into vegan life. I just overcome the pandemic. Things are getting a little crazier. Shops are slowly opening. I'm fighting with the government here. Lito and I and the local shops, we're trying to fight because they let barbershops open. They let this open, let that open. But suddenly from nowhere, tattoo shops cannot be open. We're like, what the fuck's going on? What happened? You forgot about us? Well, our mayor here, freaking Ron DeSantis, beautiful guy, he didn't give a shit about tattoo shops. And we were like, what the hell? Why are you not doing that? Why are you opening this and taking pictures at barbershops, but you don't let tattoo shops? Well, he didn't care about tattoo shops. Well, that's when Clay from Atomic and all that, we got together. We are like, fuck him. We're going to open shops. So we started opening our shops in the daytime where nobody knew, and we were in business, running business, and man, we were flocking. Everybody was running to tattoo shops. It was like back in the 90s. We were just like, we were making money, and then all the stimulus money came in, and we were killing it. We were killing it, and everything was doing, great. We were killing all that. I thought everything was changing. Suddenly, from nowhere, my disease started kicking in again. And I remember what we were doing a video shoot. We were doing a video shot for Black Eye in a shop. And I remember just walking and I had to sit down and I was out of breath. And my wife looked at me and she sees me. And I didn't want to show her, like, because she's been worrying so much. And she looked at me. She's like, what's going on? I said, I'm right, babe. I'm just resting. She goes, don't mind me. I'm just resting. She calls the doctor. And the doctor's like, bring him in. I go there. My kidneys were dropping. We're already low. They say, hey, listen, we're going to have to put already a catheter in you. You're going to have to start doing dialysis. I'm like, fuck, bro. You know how much I've been fighting for this, bro. I just fought the pandemic. I just fought this. I just did this, and I'm still trying to do everything. So I started doing I started doing dialysis. Because all the steroids from the pandemic, I had a moment where I had to go to the hospital because I was almost dizzy. I was gonna faint. I had a sugar level of 989. I could have been dead. It was because all the steroids they put in me. It made my sugar go like way up. So now they had me like stage 2 diabetic, doing dialysis. And that moment I recall, man, Mark, it was so scary. I'm in a hospital. I'm there with my daughter, my son. I have that time she was about, I think 8. She's 10 now, about 8 years old. No, no, 9. She was 9. And my son, he's 21 now. And my wife, and we're in there, and I'm looking at my doctor, amazing guy, and I'm looking at him, and I'm getting angry because I'm like questioning why is this happening? What the fuck's going on? And I was like, what's going on? And I asked him, I say, hey, doc, tell me the truth. What the fuck's going on? You know, tell me, where do I go? Where I go from here? He says, in that moment, he says, you got 5 years. Man, that shit hurt. 5 years, dog. I didn't know what to say from there. 5 years. Shit. I call everybody, all my family. I say, hey, that moment, it's so funny, Mark. In that moment, I told myself, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to make this 5 years the best. The best 5 years. Tell my wife, don't worry, babe. Don't worry. 5 years, we're going to do it. Call my family, my enemies, anybody. Yo, I know I hate you, motherfucker, but I love you now. Don't worry. Call them all. But I fought. I still fought. I was like, I remember I still was like, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to give up. I take 5 years, but I'm going to fight. I remember it was funny. It was 2022. I was doing dialysis. I called Tony up. And I said, Tony, and can you do the show? Are you gonna do the show? He's like, no, man, I won't be able to do the show. I said, all right, don't worry about it. I think a month before the show, he calls me up. Say, hey, Chino, I want to do your show. I said, really? He goes, yeah, I want to do your show. I say, motherfuckers, you better edit all this crying shit. Take it out. Like, do some camera shit. Get it out of me. All right. All right. So yeah, so then he tells me, he said, yeah, I'm gonna do your show. I said, man, Tony, you're killing me. So I call the hotel, I get his room. I boot one of the artists out. I say, hey man, you gotta do me a favor. You gotta get out. I gotta get Tony in here. In that moment, I knew I needed to do something for Tony. I don't know what it was. I had to do something for him. So I have my videographer. I call him up and I say, hey, I want to do something for this artist. And he did a lot for me. And I remember everything he has done for me. Times I would hang out after his show, sit there, and we'll play CeeLo, and we will sit there for hours and hours and talk about conventions.
I
And then
drank a lot of
oh yeah,
tequila
no,
and Corona with
oh
him and
yeah, yeah,
Bob Terrell, man. A
oh
lot.
yeah, a lot, a
Good
lot.
times.
Oh, great times. So I remember, and I would sit there, and I was like, "Hey, listen, let's I want to do something." I called Joey, and I said, Joey Tattoo. I called Joey, and I said, Joey, I want to do something for Tony. He's like, "Oh, that sounds cool." I said, "Listen, I got a trophy for him. I got this plaque for him. I want to do legendary artist for him." To me, in my eyes, he's a legend for me because he helped me not only as a tattooist, as a person. He taught me something, and I remember he took the word Amelia. I even got a tattoo. What Big Me's did it. It was supposed to be bigger, but at that time I was still dealing with my health, and my wife was told him. She texted. It was in Puerto Rico convention. She texted Big Me's, and she's like, "It better be small." And I'm thinking he's gonna do this big thing. He does a small fucking tattoo on me, but I let it be. So we go and so I go and we do the convention. In that moment, it was Friday and Saturday. I tell all these artists, Jazz, I called Doc Dog, I called all these artists, and I said, hey, I'm doing this for Tony. Can you guys do it? Johnny Cantana was there, all these guys were there. I said, hey, I'm gonna have you guys interview. We're gonna take you to the back, Craig Foster. We're gonna go and interview all of you guys on that Friday and Saturday. So they're interviewing them regarding Tony. Tony didn't know what the fuck was going on. Tony was still dealing with, he was doing dialysis as well. And fucker was like, hey, Chino, go get me a Cuban sandwich. I was like, no, you don't supposed to be that. With mouth to fuck you. So, so we go ahead and we're doing all this interviews. Well, Sunday comes up. Joey goes, yo, Tony, motherfucker, get yourself up here on the stage. We need you. You can see him like kind of like, what the hell's going on? Well, Doc Dog was there, everybody was there, and we bring him up to the stage. Well, in my show, I have this big LED screen in the stage. Well, I pulled up, and I mean, I'm telling you, the videographer, we pulled this up out of our ass within minutes. We didn't sleep. Well, I find this old video of him and YouTube of him talking about his shop, Little Five Points, and Sacred Heart and how it started. A little story about him. I grabbed that video, and that was the introduction of him. So it pops up. He sees himself talking about his shop. He sees him, the shop, and all this, and then suddenly the interviews, Jazz, Joey, everybody, they're all popping up. All the videos of all the interviews popping. You can see his face like, what the fuck is this? And then I pop him the end and I say, hey, Tony, I want to tell you something. I appreciate everything you have done for me. I love you, man. You taught me everything about family. You taught me all this. And for this, I'm going to give you this. And my friend's little kid, he comes with a trophy. And I said, this is for the legendary artist. And he comes and he gives me a hug. And he tells me, you motherfucker, you want me to cry here in front of everybody, huh? I say, hey, man, we got to cry sometimes. That just makes a true man. And he's like, he laughs at me. He laughs at me at that moment. Hold on, hold on. Give me
You're
one.
making me want to cry now, you bastard.
So he laughs in that moment, and he goes ahead and he tells me, he's like, man, that was the best. Larry calls me up, and Larry's go, bro, what did you did with Tony? I go, what are you talking about? He said, bro, he came home like a little kid. He was all happy. He's like, he got acknowledged. And it was funny because Joey that night on Sunday, that whole weekend, everybody ignored him. Only a couple of people talked to him that knew him. But all the new schoolers, all the new artists that are in the mix, they didn't know who the fuck he was. There's some old boomer tattoo artist there. Well, Joey, that Sunday when we were doing this, Joey told everybody, said, everybody, stop what you're doing. I need everybody stop your fucking machines. Stop tattooing. I need all your attention. This guy right here is one of the reasons why everybody's tattooing, why black and gray was, where it was. He brought the West Coast black and gray to the East Coast. He did this, he did that. Joey's explaining it. And all of us started talking. Like, Johnny Cantana came in and started saying, hey, the reason I'm tattooing is because this motherfucker. This guy came, Doc Dog would start talking, everybody started talking. It was amazing. Well, he had a couple shoes that he made. You remember those shoes he draws up,
Yeah.
and some of his machines, he sold out. Johnny got tattooed by him. Another friend of mine, he did like 4 or 5 tattoos. Bro, he was so happy. He made money. He got acknowledged, and everybody was just like, yo, I'm next to this guy. Oh shit, that's amazing. So it was cool. I felt happy that I did that for him. That was my thank you I did for him.
Tony was all about family. In fact, I still communicate with his brother Jose down in
Mm-hmm.
Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of my daughter lives out there or whatever. So
Okay.
I've got a handful of guys in the Tucson area that will drop what they're doing if my daughter needs them at any given moment. And Jose, Tony's brother, is one of those guys. But yeah,
Yeah.
his
Jose's
entire
funny. I met
family is
him.
about family, man. They were all about the family,
Mm-hmm.
and I consider them family too. So it's tears coming up in the eyes here now too,
Yeah.
just thinking about them. But
And it's
uh,
funny because that word family, I've learned when you get sick or when you're in your lows, and I'm talking about health, financially, you in your lows, you see who's real family. You see who's your real family. And a lot of times it's not even the blood. A lot of times it's just the heart. It's the one who's there for you. Like you say, you make a call, he's there.
yeah,
He's there. He's not looking for something. He's not waiting for getting something out of you. And so that's to me, I've learned it. I was like, okay, this is family. And I think, that's why, I do what I do, and I continue doing what I'm doing. And you've seen it, man, Mark. This industry has changed a lot. It's changed a lot where it's not really as family. It's like whose throat they could cut. Who I could
become
take.
commercialized.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's kind of just business to a lot of people, but to
yeah.
guys like us, it's everything. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
it is everything.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but the world changes. We don't get to write the rules, man.
No, but it's coming back. It will come back. I like everything. Everything comes in a circle. I remember when, I'm a hip hop head. When they thought hip hop was just a fad and, it was all rock and roll, no rap, that comes and goes. That's not gonna be, it's not gonna last for too long. All the old school rappers coming back, all that's coming back. It's a good thing.
Well,
But that's my
business gets a
story.
little
That's
tight.
part of my story. You see little
Dude,
tears.
dude, I'm sorry, you are like the definition of hustle. I mean, I know there's another guy out there that's kind of coined that word, but like, just I just sat here and I know your story, and I just sat here and listened to a lot of it again, and I was just like, God damn, like just can't beat you down, Chino. It's amazing, man. I'm proud of
Yeah.
you. I'm happy for you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I mean, I think if it wasn't for this industry, what I'm
Yeah,
saying, if it wasn't for this industry, I don't see where I'm gonna be. I think I'll be like almost 80% of my friends are dead or in jail. You
I
know?
I say that all the time. If I didn't find tattooing, I'd either be dead or in prison, one or
Yeah,
the other. Man.
yeah.
So
That's the same thing. I think that's what happened, and I remember the first time I met you, it was at a convention. It was the first time I met you. I think what convention did I meet you? I forgot. With so many conventions. You remember you did the Tampa show years ago,
I
didn't
did a
you?
lot
Did
of
it?
them. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
that's
met you.
I'm not sure if that's the first one we met at or whatever, but like, I mean, up until 2007, I mostly did shows on the West Coast because I was based out of Arizona.
What
And
year
you
you
were
started your
mostly
supply? What year you started the supply?
geez, man. Well, Needlejigs themselves, they started in the like very tail end of the
Ah,
90s.
yeah. Remember, I
So
called you. I called you for the needle jigs. I was like, "Hey, we're making needles at our shop. I need some jigs. I
yeah,
can't find them anywhere. You know, National already sold out, and Spalding and Rogers didn't have any. You know, they had some other kinds, and I was like, shit, I need some. And yeah, yeah. So the
well, it's
needle,
like people ask me like, when did Needlejig start? And I'm like, I couldn't even put a date on it if I had to, because
yeah,
it's like, the round mag theory that started, in the late 90s. By the time I had jigs that were for sale, that was right in the tail end of the 90s or 2000. But I
really,
mean,
I
so
didn't
it's
even know that was that far.
uh,
But you were based in Arizona, weren't you?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
Phoenix area. Uh,
okay,
but
yeah. I
yeah,
didn't.
so how's the show going? I mean, like I know
So,
you
so the
you told
show
me
has
it was a bit
been
ago.
Oh, the show's been amazing. We got a list of good artists this year. I met, Yahtzee is my judge, official judge, and he's like a brother to me. It's crazy Yahtzee. We became really good, close. And Joey's, they're like brothers to me. These guys, they always have my back. They remember. So when like I'd say 22 was a yeah, no, 23 last year. Last year I was doing dialysis. I did because I own my pipe and drapes. So it was crazy because I had to, like you do dialysis. If anybody doesn't know about dialysis, it sucks. It's basically electric um Dracula vampires sucking your blood, putting it back in your system, and it makes you exhausted. It makes you so tired. So I had to do it 3 times a week. So my doctor, we do the show, we set up because I own the pipe and drapes. We set up the pipe and drapes on Thursday in the morning, and we let people come in the morning to start early birds to set up and register, and then the show starts on Friday. Well, I normally did Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday. So I called my doctor up and say, hey, listen, you need to change that schedule up for Friday. I'm not doing dialysis. They're like, well, that's not something you normally change. It's like you need this. I was like, I understand, but my show is first. And they were like, okay, how about we could do back to back? We do Wednesday and Thursday. And keep in mind, these are like 4 or 5 hours sitting in a chair, and listening to this machine constantly making a roar, and then you hear the beep beep. I bought an Oculus, and I would have my Oculus, and I would watch movies in my Oculus to be in another world, just not to be in that clinic, just to feel like I'm somewhere else. So I told him, I said, hey, listen, okay, we'll do Wednesday and Thursday. And I knew Thursday, my wife had the crew, my artists and some of my friends and everybody was going to go and set up the pipe and drapes because my wife had a slight, I mean, we haven't done it for a while that much. So she was like, all right, I'll help and I'll start, kind of maintaining how to do it. So I told my doctor, I said, we got to do it early in the morning. So let's go at 5 in the morning. And then by 9 o'clock, I should be done. And by that time, I could drive to St. Pete, and I'm gonna probably be tired, go to take a nap, and then later on in the afternoon I'll come to the event and see what's going on. Well, I get there, my aunt picks me up because you can't drive after doing dialysis. My aunt picks me up, and we drive to St. Pete, and I'm gonna fall asleep in the truck, and I get in. Well, I get to the venue, and and my poor wife, I see her with a clipboard, and she's standing there, and she's looking at the clipboard, pale as white, and she's looking at it, and everybody's like, don't know what the hell's going on. And I looked at her and I go, are you okay? And she goes, yeah. I said, baby, you're not okay. Give me the clipboard. And she's like, no, no, you just finished doing dialysis. You go to your room, go. And I said, no, just give it to me. Bro, I did that. I set the pipe and drapes in 2 hours. In 2 hours, I just say, you come over here. You come here. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. I'm gonna come with the roller. I'm gonna mark, and you're gonna come behind me. We're gonna poop, poop, poop. You're gonna put this pipe. You're gonna do this, and I'm guiding everybody here. The audio and visual came. I need you to go over here. This is where I want my speakers. The food trucks are listed outside. I started doing all this. I had such an energy, Mark, that I didn't even know that I was tired anymore. Like this chick just came out from nowhere. I think that's the beautiful thing about it.
No, it's
I just
passion, it's love.
Yeah, I just had this fucking passion, man. Like I was like, shit. My wife was like, now keep in mind, I was tired later at night. You could see in my face, I was fucking beat. But yeah, we had a great show that year. That was last year, and it was amazing show. It was really good. But I had like these three, I call them the three little snakes popping out of my thing. Those were the cords that they were hard, and people could see it. It's like, you know, is he okay? And I was like, yeah, he's doing dialysis now. And you could tell, like I'm that type of guy. I don't like to sit around. So I will walk to every booth. Hey guys, how you doing? Oh, good. You need anything? No, I'm good, good. I would see Pooch, and Pooch is like, hey, have you eaten? No, man. What you want? What you want to eat? And I would go to the food truck, grab them the food, bring it, and I'll say, hey, here's your food. Go get it. Or I tell one of the volunteers, hey, go get that person water. Go do this. We have walkie talkies, and I'm like walking, constantly walking. I think that's what made me stay alive. Was just I just felt everybody talk to people, sit over here, and just mingling and talking to everybody, and it was really really good. So this year it's gonna be my first year without doing dialysis with a new kidney because September 1st was my kidney transplant. Woo! Like I was telling you, it was from the funny story about it. It was actually from one of my artist's wife.
Wow.
She donated. I think no, you know what it was? I told him if you want your fucking job, you better give me your wife's kidney. You know.
Went old school, huh?
Yeah. No, but we my wife posted on social media. I didn't really want to do that, but she posted on social media that we're looking for a donor. The local news, ABC News, picked me up. They did an interview with me regarding my, Ink Mania, my shop, because I do things for the charity, a local charity here, Academy Prep. Academy Prep is a school for low income kids and mostly brown or black kids, and they're poverty. They're really poor, but it's a private school that 90% of them go to like Ivy League colleges and they or go to the military. It's a very, very good school, but they don't get the support. So, and the funny thing, it was in Ybor, and it's close to where I used to live. Actually, that building where they have the school, I used to graffiti inside that building. So, and I, so I go there and I do volunteers. We bring out now. We just picked up something that we got our artists that would do art class with the kids there. And I'm a huge chess player, so I picked their chess team. And so what we did last year is we had 14 kids there, and we had them to play chess with anybody who wanted to come. So Mark Longnecker, all these guys was coming in and they were playing $20 games, donating $20. And we were playing chess with all these kids. We actually raised about $6,500 for
That's
that
awesome.
school. Yeah, it was awesome. So, so we still work with the school and we, still deal with them. And so this year we're doing all that. I just had a meeting with the school yesterday. So we're still dealing with Academy Prep. I think that's going to be our definite charity because I love the kids. I actually had to play chess with them yesterday. I beat the hell out of them. I felt bad, but I was like, hey, you guys got to learn.
Hey, at least you don't hold back, right, man?
No,
You can't
no,
just let them win.
no. Luckily, I just smacked the freaking chessboard and was like, there, bitch. And I actually played two of them. It was two at the same time. The coach, he's my friend, and he's like, you see, he knows how to play. But yeah, so we have Academy Prep as our charity. We have his lineup artist Alvin. I forgot his name, and I was in his house yesterday. His last name. Alvin's amazing guy from Colombia. Nick Western, Nicholas Western from Spain. I got all these lists of guys, but to me, as much as they're amazing artists, even the little guys, even the small artists who's local guy, to me is amazing. So I try to use all of them as my feature. They're all my feature. My trophies, I make them myself. I hand carve them. I'm gonna show you something, and this is a little sneak. You're gonna be the first one that you're gonna
Ooh,
see.
ooh.
So my trophies, I get them from the indigenous family in Mexico. I found this family that we supported. and we take care of them, and they make this one part of my trophy, one part, and then I'll make the rest. Let me show you. Hold on. So this is part of the trophy that I'm putting together. This is the first place categories of each one. Only first place. Second place, they get a certificate. There's no third place. And then I have the best of the day and the overall, and those I'm still in the working on. This is it.
Dude, that is gorgeous.
So right under here is going to be the plate, a gold plate with the plaque. It has two options. You have it where you can hang it on the wall, or you can hang them, or you can have them standing up like this. This right here, this is all handmade. They're little beads.
Yeah.
Little beads from the indigenous family. That's
I was
all.
thinking it was carved and hand painted at first, but now I can see it. It's
Now you see all
beautiful.
the little beads? Look. Oh,
Yeah, that's insane.
yeah. So all this is from the family that I have a video of them doing it. And it takes them about a month or two to make one. I have 50 of those. 50 of those that they made for me. I have bigger ones that's going to be the best of the day. And then I have this big custom one that's not like that. It's a lot different. That's going to be the best overall show. Plus, I have a machine from Roman with the HM tattoo machines. You remember
Yep,
those? HM?
yep.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. I talked to him, and he's offering a machine, like a gold machine for the overall. Yeah, it's a custom overall machine he's going to do with that. We have tickets for the dolly that we give each of the first place, they get one of the tickets for the dolly. And I think to me, that's the cool thing. And, and the cool thing is that Yahtzee is all responsible for judging. I don't take any I don't like to judge. I feel like I don't like doing that. I don't like judging because some of these artists take this very serious.
Well, yeah, some take it too serious, but it's like it could be
Yeah.
conflict of interest there.
But we're in Florida, so we got the Miami guys, and they take it too serious. Sometimes it's like too far. It's like I remember shows was never like that. Shows was they didn't even. I mean, I didn't even remember the categories that much. It was it was more like when's the after party? That's all we worry about. It was nothing like that.
That's
It
true,
was
man.
it was like I didn't. Do you remember? I don't remember. There was really like competition that much. I mean, probably there was, but I never thought about it. It was. I think it was more like I was worried about where we are gonna party that night. I don't remember. It was so weird. But
I
yeah,
don't know, man. Ink Slingers Ball, I remember the competitions were huge, and
yeah, I
it
never
was
did those. I never did those. So I missed out on that kind of shows. Like there were shows that people would tell me California. I didn't do that many California, but California they were on top of it. We're in Florida. Florida, we always we were 10 days behind, so we had our own style here. That's how
the
it felt.
biggest the biggest show I remember for as far as the contests go was 96. I went to the Houston show that was put on by Lyle Tuttle and Dave Yuriku, and that was the 20th anniversary show of the first show here that they did in Houston in 76.
Uh-huh.
And the contest was kind of elaborate. There was a long stage, kind of like, walking up and down like the models, and it was a big deal. Everybody gathered around, everybody sat at a table and had their drinks,
Yeah.
everybody was engaged in the contest at that point in time. It was just amazing. It was a different era, and
Yeah.
things have
I
never been the
remember
same.
that the shows that I would see that I was really inspired was the European shows. Those big shows out there, Tattoo Week or those things they were crazy. Those shows were just amazing. The
I
way
still
that
haven't participated in that. I
huh?
haven't been to Europe for
I
a show.
haven't. I've been offered, but I never. The only shows I've done, I could say out of country, was the Guadalajara convention. Sammy, because Sammy is a friend of mine. Sammy, this is before Viva La Tinta. We were doing the Guadalajara convention, and that was my first international show that I ever been to. Always wanted to do like different shows in Europe. I think I'm now, I'm a different person. I'm gonna take opportunity to do those shows, go out there. But
I life
And
challenged you, man. You woke up and realized you got to enjoy what you got. I mean, there's nothing wrong
yeah,
with that.
yeah, yeah. No, I got a beautiful family. I got beautiful friends. Every time I'm learning, getting new friends, and I'm learning new things. Especially now, I'm one of those guys that I want to learn. I actually taught my son social media marketing. The time I was doing dialysis, I was taking tutorials on before even AI was where it is now. I was taking tutorials of ChatGPT. I was doing AI. I was learning all that before it became. I mean, my ChatGPT, I think he knows me so well. Anything I write, he already knows what I want because the more you mess with it, the more you mess with it, it kind of knows who you are. It's kind of weird, but it helped me out a lot. And so as I'm that type of person, I'm always learning, like learning how to do things. And I always tell my kids, I say, listen, there's never a time to stop. I think the time when you stop is when your body tells you to stop and your spirit moves on somewhere else, and you still don't stop. You're looking for somewhere else to go. So you never really stop. So you got to
I'm
get that.
always down a different rabbit hole. There's always something I need to learn, and
Yeah,
in my
you're
case, it
the
becomes a distraction sometimes. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but you're a hustle yourself, Mark. I seen you running around. I see, especially in I know it because I've been in the supply end too, and seeing you in the supply end, and I know about you, and I was like, oh, okay. I call you the creeper because nobody knows.
thanks.
They know not a creeper like a creep guy, but the creeper like no, they don't know who you are, but you're a big guy. You like, in the way people don't understand, there's the kingpin and those and that came in place, but you were doing your thing and people didn't know what you were doing. You had your machines before everybody was doing them and you were doing stuff before people were actually doing them. So you were already doing it. I knew that. And I heard about you. I was at Diversify.
I never had to toot my own horn, really, to be honest with you. I had influencers before there was such a thing as influencers,
Yeah.
and I, my problem is now I got to try and toot my own horn because there's so many other people out there, and that's not a game I play well. So
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, we have to learn about it. I mean, we have to just stand up and just like, fuck it, let's do it. Especially now the industry has gotten to a point where corporate business is the corporate is getting involved. Now it's changed. That they
yeah,
didn't give a shit about us before. Now corporations are getting involved with. They're knocking our doors. Now the crazy thing now is now you see guys are opening up a business, waiting to a corporation to buy them out. And it's like, what was the reason you got into it? It's like it was
that was the reason they got into it.
yeah,
There are people now starting the businesses with the full intention of selling, and
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and that works in the normal business world. That is a normal thing in the business
Mhm.
world. I just never got into tattooing for that reason. I got into tattooing just because I loved it. It's just that
Because
simple.
that was us. It was like we say before, it was this or what? Work a 9 to 5 or do something what? I think that's what was tattooing before. Tattooing was, we were the rebels of the industry. If you look at how it used to be, we were the artists for the gangsters, back in the day, the bikers, the gangbangers, we were there. If you even go with Japanese, where, the Yakuzas and, those guys, they were the artists for their gangsters. So we were like the American view of that. But it's changed. It's changed now. It's not that way
We
anymore.
were pirates for sure,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, we were definitely pirates back in the day. But
Yeah. Uh-huh.
man, we've been doing this for a really, really long time. I don't want to cut this short, but I do need to be somewhere else soon.
Yeah, me too. My wife's blowing me up.
Yeah, my phone's going out here,
Yeah.
but
I was like, shit, my boy's blowing. I had a meeting, believe it or not, I had a meeting at
oops.
11:30, and I was like, ooh, I'm actually having fun here. Let me cut this short.
Oh man. Well, Chino, I got to tell you, you have an amazing story. You are an amazing human being. Everything that you do, what you've been through, it's if this is not inspiring to anybody else out there, then they're just a goddamn idiot.
Welcome.
So, it's just the challenges you've had, everything. I mean, you got a killer show going now. And you
Yeah.
were dumb enough to pursue it after you lost money on it twice and just kept
Why
going,
not? Why
you
not?
know, but hey, like I
And I'm
said,
gonna tell you
amazing story.
to cut it quick, wait for a couple more years. I can't talk about it.
Okay.
It's gonna be bigger. And I look forward, and I'll talk to you later too about it. But it's gonna be nice. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
brother. I'm happy you're still with us. I'm glad you're doing so well. I love you, and we'll do this again one day, man.
No, man. Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. I really, really appreciate this. For everybody, if you want to find me, Ink Mania Expo, or go to my email, inkmaniacon@gmail.com, or just hit me up, DM me at my social media.
All right. What's the dates for the show?
June 7th, 8th, and 9th at St. Pete at the Coliseum.
All right, brother. Love you. Be safe.
I love you, man. Take care, man.